my children, gather round, gather round. I'll tell you cool stories today. Cool stories that I have gathered. Not from Eastern Europe, though, from the other places of the world. I just realized, like, there's nothing much to talk from Eastern Europe. It's just, like, corruption. Um, that is literally it. Like, I looked the news. I wanted to make a Romanian channel in order to talk about news from my country, and it would be like, okay, today this politician was corrupt. Tomorrow this politician was corrupt. And this politician claims that you should vote for him because the opposition is corrupt. Do you know what the opposition says? The opposition says that everyone is corrupt. And that is literally it. And to everyone that's asking me, it's like, talk about Romania. What the fuck do you want me to talk about Romania? You know, like, top 100 most profitable companies in Romania, like 75% are foreign and they don't pay taxes. That would be like one of the news that I could talk about, you know? So no, there's not much to talk about my country, unfortunately. Like, there are no good guys. At least, you know, in America, you look and it's like, oh, I like this politician. In Britain, it's like, oh, I like this party. In Romania, I don't like anyone. Literally anyone I do not like. I do not know why people want me to talk about Eastern Europe that much. Maybe we're going to get to Bolsonaro eventually, because I'm looking at Brazil. I think this is why he got elected. No, this is why, because he actually, like, the most powerful thing he said is that they accused me of everything besides being corrupt. Like, people were so thirsty for someone that's not corrupt that they voted for Bolsonaro. Oh, that and the fact that they stabbed him. I think the stabbing had parts to do and the fact that he got elected. The left always complains like, oh, Bolsonaro is evil. Bolsonaro is doing this, is doing that. It's like, well, why don't you blame the leftists that stabbed him? I think that's the guy that got at least one vote, I'm going to assume. You know, like, stabbing presidential candidates will probably give them at least one vote. Apparently someone said Eastern Europe is actually interesting. Well, like, again, like, see, here's the thing, right? For example, I talked today on my main channel about I wouldn't say a medical journal. One of the biggest journals that publicize about ethical in medicine. Like, it's a big thing. People who aren't in the medical field probably don't know about it. But no, like, trust me, it's a big thing, right? And they talk about the idea of post-birth abortion. I love how they just switch. They found a new way for infanticide. I guess a PC way of calling it, right? So this is not even like an abortion issue. Like, we're talking about a baby is born and then you get to kill it, right? So when I talk about something like that, you don't have to be American in order to understand why that's fucked up. Like, I'm pretty sure someone in Zimbabwe watching that, and he's probably getting like one of those clicky languages like nuke nuke. That's fucked up. You know, like, anyone looking at it is going to realize, no, that, like, there's something wrong in the brain of the people that are pushing for this. But if I talk about Romania and I tell you that, I don't know, Dragnea is corrupt, it's like, you need a little bit of backstory in order to get to that place, right? You need to understand who the fuck is that person. Like, so this is why I don't talk about, like, people keep asking me, why don't you talk about your country? Well, that's pretty much it. Are you running for EMP for Romania as the Romanian conference is working on Articles 11 and 13? I'm not disillusioned. If I were to run for EMP, I would need money, and I do not have the money to run. You need $1 or $2 in order to get there. The thing is, maybe, I don't know, like, if I would have a channel with at least 1 million Romanians, I might have a shot. And if I would have money as well. Because everyone else that's running, like, they don't really have an ideology. People don't even know who the fuck they are. And I could, you know, like, if I had money, I would organize, like, some campaign to go in Romanian villages and feed the poor or some shit. Like, vote for this guy, you know. Like, there are ways that you can get the Romanian psyche to vote for you that I'm fully aware of, and I know how they work. So I would definitely, you know, No, I don't think I will win, but I would definitely have a chance. But like this, the Zlixian, holy shit, I made it to the start. Holy shit, Zlixian, you did. Um, yeah, people are getting notifications. What on earth is happening? Like, is the guy at YouTube that's cock blocking me asleep now? Huh? Did it forget to block my channel or something? All right, so let's wait for a couple of more people to join, and then I'll start telling you about the news, about things that happened today. Um, I understand that there might also be like other problems running for office. Like, for example, what's his name? Sticks and Hammer. Sticks and Hammer wanted to run. Like, he wanted to run for governor. Can you imagine Sticks the governor? And apparently he said that it would be illegal because of the money that is coming from foreign places. Like, he would, like, he's no Hillary Clinton, right? He can't have like the Sticks and Hammer Foundation that takes money from foreign sources in order for him to run. But I don't think like you need to run only with the idea of winning, because here's the thing: you can create a space in politics. You can move the overtone window just by competing. Because, for example, Sticks and Hammer is a libertarian, right? And if he runs and he gets like, I don't know, even if he gets like 6 or 7% of the votes, other people will look at it and say, oh, well, there's an interest in that platform, and someone might try to, you know, get into that niche space of politics to... that's my opinion, at least. He would definitely cut the taxes for leather jackets. You know what's funny? In Russia, I kept saying this. People don't believe me, but every time I say it, someone checks it out, and then it's like, oh my god, V is right. Everyone that fucked with the price of vodka, everyone that tried to tax vodka, in 1 or 2 years got dethroned. And it doesn't matter if it was like a Russian czar, a president, or anything like anyone that fucked with vodka. And you look at Russia right now, you know, and because of the sanctions from the United States and other countries, like the prices are going up for everything. And the price of vodka always remains the same. Like if you go to Russia, vodka is the cheapest thing you can buy, precisely because the government doesn't want to tax it. And I thought that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, people in the chat are spooning me right now. They're do you know what Sticks and Hammer's favorite sexual position is? The spoon. I really like Sticks. He's got like very interesting takes on things, and I'm surprised how the YouTube algorithm isn't messing with him. It's like, this is probably what I'm going to do when I get to my new house. I'm just going to put my face in videos and just talk about a subject, you know, like not show anything on the camera, just give your woke take on something, and I think that definitely might work. Zero Cock says Sticks is a child groomer that DMCA's any video showing evidence and threatens to sue anyone that brings up how he was chatting up an underage girl on YouTube. I generally don't know anything about that controversy, but if that's the case, then it's between him and the police. Like, this is something that really makes me wonder. I think it's an American concept, to be honest. It's not in Eastern Europe, but it's an American thing. Like, you want the public speaker to be 100% pure. You know, like, let's assume Sticks did that. Then I hope he goes to jail. But that doesn't mean that his political opinions on libertarianism are false. Like, I can disassociate what he did with his character. Another example would be Michael Jackson, right? Let's assume that Michael Jackson actually was a pedophile, like he was accused of. That doesn't mean I can't enjoy his music, right? That doesn't mean I can't enjoy his art. Like, I can disassociate something that's said from the person who said it. And this seems to be like a thing in America. Like, usually when someone gains a lot of support, right? Like when someone gets the ear of the public, the opposition will run a smear campaign. Like, they won't try to attack what the person is talking about. They won't try to attack his ideas. They will try to attack the person. And usually it's interesting. Like, the left, they accuse of racism, sexism, homophobia, you know, Islamophobia, blah, blah, blah. Because that's what they consider to be the the people they want to protect. And the right usually goes for pedophilia accusations. Like, that's because for them, for the right-wing, children are the people they want to protect. But I don't know. I don't know about Styx, right? I don't know about his controversy. I have no idea. If he done anything wrong, I hope he goes to prison. If he didn't do anything wrong, then I hope he doesn't. I just watch his channel and I find his views informative. Right. Let's go into some really interesting news. This was something incredibly weird to behold. Apparently, Stucky is the mummified dog who has been stuck in a tree for 50 years. So we got Emotep's puppy over here. The mummified dog was a shocking find for the loggers who were working on cutting the tree to pieces and almost turned it into mulch. Can you understand? Like, imagine cutting up a tree and finding this. Might give you a nightmare or two. I'm being offered different beds from Google Ads. There are some things loggers expect to come across when chopping down trees and ruining the environment and bringing global warming. Bird's nest and things stuck in the branches seem like a given. Apparently, a mummified dog is not. But apparently, a team of loggers found while cutting down a tree in the 1980s. The loggers working on a grove of chestnut oaks. They found the most unusual sight. It was a little bit peculiar, they say. Right? They looked at this and it's like, oh, this is peculiar. After cutting the top of the tree and putting it in a truck for transport, a member of the team looked at the hollowed trunk. Inside, he found a perfectly mummified remains of Fido. Looking back at him, its teeth still bared in a fight for survival. Experts who studied the carcass concluded that the pup was most likely a hunting dog from the 1960s who had chased something such as a squirrel through a hole in the roots and up the center of the hollow tree. The higher the dog got, however, the narrower the tree became. From the position of the dog's paws, experts believe that it continued to climb until it effectively wedged itself in. Unable to turn around, the dog died. Press F to pay respects for Fido. Due to a perfect set of circumstances, however, though it was dead, it was not forgotten. Normally, a dog that had died in the wild would succumb to decay and be eaten by other foragers. However, as the dog had died inside the tree, it was unlikely that other animals could reach it. Do you know what? I realized what I need. I need some spooky music. Huh? I need to make sure that I don't get copyright strike. I should get like a good whistler, you know, someone that can whistle the X-File music while I'm reading. That would be great. Due to the height of the body, it was unlikely that other animals could smell it either. Additionally, the kind of tree that the dog died lodged itself in was uniquely qualified to lend itself to the natural mummification process. Just not oaks, and then we go into the science, and I don't care, and it's like dry environment and shit. And apparently it is now in a museum. Still encased in its woody tomb and on display for the world to see, because definitely this is something that the world wants to see and needs to see, I guess. Press F to pay respects, as I mentioned. Dog didn't do nothing. Yeah. I have depressed the chat. All 184 of you. This is why I decided to start with this while fewer people are in. Someone asked if the dog is going to be okay. Yeah, I think he is. Super chats should have an audio for sending whistles. That would definitely be an interesting thing. I should play the Russian guy who sings trollolol. Right. When I went to the British Museum, the British, what was it? Like the Imperial Museum or something. I forgot what it's called. I saw a lot of, instruments of death, like tanks, airplanes, bombs, and there was a pigeon, right? It was a pigeon without a leg and an eye. And I'm like, what the fuck is a pigeon doing here? Why is a pigeon in the British Museum? Apparently that pigeon delivered an important message that saved a battalion of soldiers. And as it was delivering the message, it got shot and it lost an eye, and it also lost a leg. And it was injured. And as it delivered the message, they patched the pigeon up. They gave the pigeon a medal, and after the pigeon died, it got into the British Museum. And that is why there is a pigeon there. Christian Verti, is the doggo going to be Oak A? That is definitely a horrible way to die, by the way. But if you want to know something more interesting, during the medieval ages, children were put to work, right? Like all kids were working during medieval ages. It wasn't like today where there's a law to protect children from working. But the thing is, like, most kids during the medieval ages would do farm work, and they would work under their father's supervision, right? So they wouldn't, like the parents would care for the child's well-being, so they wouldn't be placed to do dangerous jobs. They usually, you start off feeding the animals, maybe going with the women to gather the seeds or whatever. So that's what kids would do. But there was a job that eventually got regulated. Like, it's the only job in the medieval wages that got regulation for kids. And that was, chimney cleaners, right? Chimney cleaners. And the reason was that a lot of the times the kids would get stuck in the chimneys while cleaning. Not to mention, like, the environment was dangerous, and there were times where, like, a kid would get stuck and they would send another child to rescue the first one, and they would both get stuck. So like this thing with the doggo, it's definitely not a good way to die. Alright, let's see what else we got today. Because there are a couple of interesting news that came up. Usually I get more, but today I think we got like 3 or 4 to go through. So apparently the BBC is saying that parents protest over Birmingham school LGBT equality teaching. Now, I'm looking at this parent and I noticed something peculiar, especially in the name and in the choice of garment that seems to be lacking from the BBC title. In Britain right now, there seems to be a case of, and I'll probably make a video about this, Islamophobia versus homophobia. And Sargon thinks that the progressives are going to win this battle. I think that he is delusional, and I think he is completely insane. Islam will definitely win this battle. What I think will happen is that they will pull out the LGBT curriculum from the schools that are in the Muslim community. And that's it. Like, everyone else is going to learn their LGBTs like they should. It's just that the concerned parents that are Muslims are going to remove the LGBTs from their school. And I listened to it, and I was looking at it, and the Muslims actually had very solid arguments, right? Like the mother that was on camera said that she doesn't believe it's the government's job to teach the LGBTs. She thinks that these things belong to the parents, and the reason she sends her kids to school is to learn about science, mathematics, and other such issues. So primary school parents have been protesting over their children being taught about LGBT rights and homophobia. Some parents at Parfield Community School in Birmingham claim the teachings contradict the Islamic faith. Why don't you put this in the title, BBC, huh? A lot of people just skim the titles and they might not notice that, But it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Because I am willing to bet that there are a lot of Christians and a lot of atheists probably who aren't okay with the school teaching LGBT issues for different reasons. And they do not want to speak out because they're afraid. They're afraid to talk because they get fired, they get ostracized, they get put in the media, right? So the only ones that are left to speak out are the Muslims. Interesting. Mariam Ahmed, whose daughter attends the school, has organized a petition against the No Outsiders Project. I love it that they're not even concerned with like other schools, they're just concerned with their schools. Right? So it's not a matter of principle, it's that they're not like, okay, this is wrong. No. It's wrong when you do it to us. Alright? Like this is multiculturalism. Like multiculturalism. And I'll explain to you why it doesn't work as well. It's not the ideology that you get different cultures to live under a nation, but they follow the same rules, right? Because this is what countries did in the past. Like the French Empire, for example, right? They would conquer different nations, they would conquer different ethnicities, they would conquer different nationalities. And now you have like different people living under the same roof, under the same empire. And you don't want the people to constantly rebel, right? So they came up with this idea of, all right, like if you serve in the French military, you're going to be indoctrinated into the French way of life and you get citizenship. And then, you're going to be treated equal, right? This idea of civic nationalism, like you're a French citizen, even though France has conquered your people, you have a chance to become like us. You just need to serve in the military and survive, right? So that was like how it used to be. Now, it's not like that. Now it's multiculturalism. So multiculturalism means that there is no overarching set of rules. It means like different cultures live by their own rules under the same roof. But the thing is that if you look at the international community, you already have that on planet Earth. They're called like different nations and there's wars between these nations, right? Like it leads to conflict. So why wouldn't it lead to conflict if you make it at the micro scale? But this is what's going to happen, right? So this is what I foresee. This is what I think. Like the Muslims in Britain are going to live by different rules. They're not going to get like LGBT being taught in schools and stuff like that. But other people from other nations, from other cities might. I am willing to bet that this is what's going to happen, okay? Sargon bets that no, it's the other way around. Like Islam is going to be influenced by progressive values. I disagree. I don't see it. The school said it aimed to educate children so they were able to accept differences in society. Again, this should be up to the parents. Like I do agree with the Muslim woman on this issue. Like the parents should have their own, this is what I don't understand. Do the progressives even believe that parents have a purpose in educating kids? Or they believe that the school should educate kids from 0 to 100% without the intervention of the parents? The school said it aimed to educate children so they were able to accept differences in society, and she says, sorry, at this age it's totally wrong. Children at this age don't even know if they are coming or going, let alone knowing what sexual orientation they will become. Asma Mohammed Jdaitawi, added it's good to teach children about respect and values, but the sexual orientation aspect is against their principles. The project was created and piloted at the school in 2014 by assistant head teacher Andrew Moffat, who was awarded an MBE for services to equality and diversity in education in 2017. Oh my God. I would want to study at the school with such awards. According to Mr. Moffat's website, the project aims to teach children about the Equality Act 2010 and British values, teach them to be proud of who they are while recognizing and celebrating difference and diversity. Prepare children for a life in modern Britain. You know what? Prepare children for a life in modern Britain. Do you know what should be taught? How to use social media. Honestly, like this is something that is important because Twitter's motto should be welcome to Twitter 2010 so you can get fired in 2015. It's not funny anymore. Like when I say something like this, it sounds ridiculous. But when someone gets fired over something that they tweeted, it's not funny. It is dramatic. Not to mention, like, you can actually not only get fired, but ostracized from public life. And even more recently, the police in Britain can come knocking at your door for things you said on the Twitter. There was a video I made about a gentleman who disagreed that trans women are women and that issued a call from the local LGBT constable. So it's important to teach children to make sure that they treat Twitter as a pristine, like, public document type of thing. And you might laugh, but the way things are going, I would encourage everyone to do the same. If you live in these countries. If you live in Eastern Europe, you can shitpost as much as you want. It's about teaching young children that we are different in reception and year one. That's as far as work goes. We're just talking about being different and being friends, he said. Counselor Tristan Shatterfield, cabinet member for social inclusion. What? These buzzwords don't stop, do they? Said that the schoolwork was being misunderstood by some parents. No, I think the school is misunderstanding the parents. They do not want you, okay? You're raping the parents. This is what you're doing. You're raping them. The parents say they do not want you. No means no, and you do not understand. You're like the European Union raping Britain. Like, Britain is saying no, and the EU keeps insisting. I don't know what else to say. In a statement, the school said it had the duty to protect pupils from harm. The school had a duty to protect pupils from harm. No, I agree. The school does have a duty to make sure that the kid doesn't get run over by a car when he's at school, right? Like, you don't want your kid to go to school and then, like, have a call from the constable. It's like, oh, by the way, your kid got run over by a vehicle. He ran away from the school. You know, or to make sure that Billy doesn't stick some sharpened crayon into Jimmy's neck. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I agree. But when you move harm from actual, like, physical harm into emotional harm, no, fuck off. That's the duty of the parent, right? So apparently homophobic and transgender bullying, all right? So we're talking about, just so you understand, we're talking about 9-year-olds, okay? 9-year-olds are victims to transgender bullying, only in UK. Is there any other nations? I'm genuinely curious. Like, I am noticing this thing with Britain, like, all of a sudden lowering the age for transgenders. Are there other nations that do this? Because I don't see it in America as much. Because I'm reading the international news, and I don't see it in France. I don't see it in anywhere else. In my country, I don't see it. I mean, maybe it is a thing. Like, is there any other nations that, you know, prides itself with, like, the first 5-year-old transgender and something like that? People are saying it's worse than Canada. Let's see what else. Someone said Canada, but someone else says it's worse than Canada. I'll read some super chats while we get to it. Hey V, I love that chat with Halsey yesterday. What happened to it? It is on BitChute on my live stream channel. I keep saying this to people, alright? Please spread the word. My live streams, I upload them on BitChute on my live stream channel, and I do want people to go there in order to create an audience over there in case something happens to this channel, right? So if you don't find the stream here, it is uploaded on my other channel. Usually I let them, like, for 5 or 6 hours, and then I upload them there. Ethan Long, $10. Thank you, Ethan. And Slixian for $10. Islam will always beat regressive because all else aside, Muslims are willing to be more violent. UK didn't want to give a woman asylum because they were afraid to piss off the Muslims. So I actually touched on this topic a couple of times. And it does seem like the regressives always take the side of the most violent. That's my opinion. And it's not about Muslims, it's about everything, right? I think it's because they try to avoid conflict. You know, it's like the battered wife syndrome, where the wife just does whatever the violent husband tells her to do so that she avoids conflict. So let me give you an example. If you have someone like Milo Yiannopoulos going to a university, and Antifa comes in and they burn up the place, the regressives will side with Antifa. And I think the logic is that you can't negotiate, you can't talk with Antifa, but you can talk and you can negotiate with Milo's supporters. They know Milo's supporters won't become violent, so they always side with Antifa. And it's the same, like if you have, let's say, a Muslim march and an LGBT march, right? And they will collide in some way. They will side with the Muslims over the LGBT. That's my opinion on it from my personal experience, right? Like, please show me a case where I'm wrong, where they sided with the least violent. Every single goddamn time. And I do think it's because they legitimately want to avoid conflict. Like, it's their way. But by doing this, you are not avoiding conflict, you are pushing the conflict down the road. Because if you don't acknowledge, like, the thing with the left, and the identitarian left, is that they have this worldview where it's white people versus everyone else, right? So, like, other people who are in the everyone else, quote-unquote, category, you can have, like, LGBT, you can have Muslims. Well, Muslims can be white as well, right? But anyway, you got, like, LGBT, you got Muslims, you got people of color, right? Like, even the definition, people of color, like, it's everyone but white. Even though blacks wouldn't be color, because that's a non-color, but anyway. So all these groups, like, for example, as I understand it, I'm not American, but people from America tell me that black people and Mexican people don't really see eye to eye all the time. Like, there are zones of conflicts between blacks and Mexicans. There was even actually great example. There was this case where a Mexican man was hit with a brick, and he was told to get out of this country, right? So the Young Turks assumed that it's a white man that did it, and they were like, blah, 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 blah. And it came up a couple of days later that it was actually a black woman that did the deed. And all of a sudden, Cenk Uygur said, oh, we need to calm down, we need to calm ourselves, we shouldn't jump to conclusions, blah, blah, blah. But what this shows is that within the left, there are different factions. And sometimes these different factions do not see eye to eye with each other. Sometimes there are, like, actual problems between the different factions. For example, the Women's March. The Women's March in America, putting on a pussy hat, seems to be a little bit anti-Semitic. Just a little bit. So you now have to discuss what do you do with the within the left, with the Jews and the anti-Semites, within the Women's March. And instead of addressing the issues, instead of discussing them, instead of actually, talking about it, they decide to instead put them under the rug, because for them, it's more important to just push the agenda that everyone else is against white people, rather than to acknowledge that the world is a little bit more complicated, that there's different groups that have different interests, if you want to watch it from the identitarian lens, I mean. And they don't want to do that, because then it ruins their narrative. Zliksan for $5. Unfortunately, you are right. Which encourages opposing sides to become violent as well. That is absolutely true. Christian Verti, conflict avoidance never works, ever. Yeah, I mean, you're just hoping that the conflict will blow out eventually. But it doesn't, right? Like, when you side with the most violent, you're giving the violent more ground. You're giving the violence more territory. And, they become stronger for it. They become more emboldened because, look, the best example is a child who goes into a candy store and asks his father to buy him something. And the father says no. And then the child starts crying and, he starts kicking up a fuss in the store. And the father eventually goes like, you know what, fine, here, have a candy. That tells the child that the next time he is in the store, if he does throw a tantrum and he throws it long enough, he will get rewarded. And he will do it again and again and again. Like, you're basically telling people that if you are violent, if you behave in a socially unacceptable way, you will get things done. And when you send that message, people will just keep repeating it. It's human nature. Anyway. Misclicked. Let's look at the one that I actually had here. A woke poet triggered by blackface photo of dusty coal miners drinking beer. So these are the coal miners on the left. I don't know, like, this is the most bourgeoisie thing. Like, this highlights, in my opinion, the culture war between the middle class and the poor in a way that you can't really describe it any other way. So this guy, I'm looking at him, like, he's well dressed. He seems very educated. Yeah, I'm going to stereotype him, but if stereotyping is wrong, why am I always so right? You know, like this seems like an educated, well-off fellow. He doesn't seem like a person living in poverty. You know, he doesn't seem like a homeless guy to me. And he's going to basically cast moral judgment and call these people evil who are less fortunate than he is. Well, were, probably, because they're not alive today. But you get the drift, you know? Being a coal miner was probably a horrible job. I can't imagine doing it. There were people that did it every single day. So that the rest of society can prosper. And just disrespecting them in such a manner. Like, what could be more disrespectful? I think the thing that could be more disrespectful is if you would tell the coal miners to learn how to code. Like, this would probably be... So, that photo tells him that he is not welcome. Dude, do you want to be a coal miner? Do you want to be welcomed in the mines? I mean, I think it can be arranged. Like, I don't know... I don't know today, like I think the coal industry in Britain is doing kind of poorly, but if you go to Trump's America, maybe it can be arranged for you to find a job in the coal mine if that's what you desire. You know, maybe in Africa there might be some coal industry going. Like there's plenty of business opportunities if you want to be welcomed in a coal mine, Jesus. A racially conscious young writer. I love how they're called racially conscious, like racist. That's what you mean. Like, when I look, his glasses have 23andMe in them. You know, like, he just sees race everywhere he goes. You can't accuse him of being a colorblind racist. He's like, atheism is unstoppable. He DNAs people everywhere he watches. So he spoke out against a photograph of suit-covered miners that he recently saw in Arizona restaurant, saying it reminded him of Blackface. There's this guy, Black Pill, and Black-pilled Devon Stack. He wrote a book, and my encounter with him is that I had the audacity to make a movie review, and I reviewed a movie that I watched since a kid. What the fuck was it called? I forgot. I reviewed that and Bird Box, and everyone is like, "Oh, Devon Stack already reviewed this V. Oh, Blackpilled already reviewed this. Blackpilled already talked about it." And it's like, what the fuck is Blackpilled, right? So I look him up, and he's got a nice channel. I like his content. But he talks about this blackface thing, and he talks about how the first video talking about blackface is actually a Jewish movie. And it's not a Jewish movie in the sense that it's made by a Jew, even though it is. But the story in that movie is about a Jewish person who lives in a Jewish Orthodox family, and he actually lives his family in order to find a life in Hollywood. And the whole movie is about him, like, trying to find his Jewish identity and finding out, you know, what type of person he's going to become in a world where his Jewish identity is irrelevant. Like, people don't really care about his Orthodox Jewish traditions, right? And he is forced to put on blackface in order to play the role of a black man. And that is like the first, according to Devon Stack, is the first instance where we see a blackface in Hollywood. But I don't know if the progressives like don't know the history of blackface, or they're just aware of it, but they don't care. But it's very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting, because now it's like, oh, what's worse? What's worse, the Holocaust or slavery? Another conversation that they don't want to have, right? Like, who is more oppressed, right? Because this is what I understand, right? Like, white people can oppress blacks. I understand that, right? Because racism is power plus prejudice. But can Jewish people oppress blacks? Can Jewish people be racist towards black people by putting on the blackface? That's a question that needs answering. That's but anyway. So apparently, like, for him, this was a harrowing experience to see the coal miners covered in soot. Was a harrowing experience. 3 years ago, I was in my town, coming home from university, and there's this very steep valley where they're not trains, they're trams. Okay, so where buses and trams also have like their their line over there. And the brakes of one of these trams broke down. And as they were going through the valley, they couldn't brake, and one of these trams ran over 12 cars. It was a slaughter. It was a scene that it looked like a war zone. People were still moaning in the street. For me, that was a harrowing experience. And to see this guy from Britain talk about harrowing experiences by seeing a picture, it's very difficult for me to take him seriously. You know, it's very difficult for me to empathize with this struggle. Anyway. So apparently, it made him feel threatened as an African American. I think we should get in touch with some of the descendants from those coal miners so we can get together and give this guy a hug so he doesn't feel threatened. Huh? Like, that's the question. Like, what exactly would it take for him not to feel threatened? Maybe these guys could ask him to go down into the mine so he can work with them. I don't know, like, what exactly he wants. Very fascinating. So the unnamed town, Phoenix, Italy, he opened, might as well have posted a sign declaring whites only. Very, very weird take. So whites only means what? Miners covered in soot? Oh my God. Thomas Upton was studying of injustice. Okay. Thomas recounted that he was at the restaurant for a holiday party when he happened upon the triggering photo. Okay, I'm trying to picture it. It was almost like Silent Hill, you know. Everyone's laughing, everyone's cheering, and then he sees the photo, and it's like, you know, the suit from the photo comes in and covers the walls, and he goes into the dark. It was a photograph of coal miners with blackened faces, he said, accurately describing the image of the photo that accompanied his article. But Thomas was quite disquieted. He recalled, so he solicited opinions from friends, as well as some Latinx and white women on hand. Everyone saw coal miners at first, but then they looked at it like, oh my God, oh, it's men in blackface. You know what I think I need to do? I need to go, to the Southern Poverty Law Center or to the ADL to give me some of those $100 million that they got, so we can invent a time machine. We can invent a time machine, and then we can go back in time to the period where those miners took the photo, and I will say, stop! Cover your faces! Or no, stop, wash your faces! Wash your faces, because a couple of decades from now, a African-American black man is going to feel unwelcomed in a bar because of you. Check your privilege, miners! Damn it! And those miners are going to all applaud and cheer, you know, like all the boss is going to cry, a little girl is going to appear and is going to give me a flower for the speech, and everyone's going to be like, oh, how unconsiderate of us, they will say. We're going to wash our faces. His suspicious adequately consumed. He then took the grievance up the chain of command. He asked the waitress to speak with the manager, and even though he had to settle for a white restaurant owner, I love the fact he had to settle for a white restaurant owner, he went ahead and explained why the photo was so offensive to him. So, let me explain to you why this is fucked up, right? Like, put yourself into the position of the restaurant owner. You got this gentleman right here, right? He's coming to you and he's telling you to take the photo down, right? You got two choices. Number one, you cock and you take it down. Number two, you're going to get a mob of activists in front of you, protesting nonstop, harassing your customers, you know, harassing your business. Because this is what's going to happen, let's be honest. Let's not kid ourselves. And why? Like, you know, like it is so annoying the way they rule the mob in society, right? Like a mob of pitchforks. It's like the uneducated. This is how I can compare them. The uneducated people in a village, the one that sit at the bar all day and try to find reasons to complain, and then they go, you know, with the pitchforks and the mobs in order to shout on the village streets, and no one wants to mess with them because they have the numbers, and they're, you know, like, people are afraid of them. Because yeah, like I'm looking at this guy, like yeah, this is the face of terror. If you're a business owner and you got this guy coming to you and is saying, I don't like that picture, change it. It's irrelevant if 99.9% of the customers love that picture. You're now into a conundrum that you shouldn't be in the first place. And of course, it depends on the neighborhood, the type of people that frequent your locale. It depends on other things if you should capitulate or not. But I think this is like their way of feeling good. Like these people want to be revolutionaries. They want to change the world for the better. I don't believe for a second that this picture scares him. All right? There is no objective way for him to show me if this picture scares him or not. I guess only if you connect him to a lie detector and you show him the picture to see if his heart is racing or not. Right? That would be like the only way. I do not believe this scares him. I believe that he wanted to have a reason to fight. I believe he wanted to have a reason to show to other people how powerful he is, that if you can walk into a restaurant, you don't like a picture, and you can take it down. None of you guys can do that. No one else. No, like there is absolutely no way any of you guys can walk into a restaurant, into a business, see something that you don't like, and you say, you know what, take this shit down. Take it down. Why? Because I want to. I don't like it. I don't think I can do it. Like in my country, I can't do anything like that. You know, just walk into a place, yeah, I don't like that, change it. According to Thomas, the owner indicated that he had heard this criticism before and he promised to take up the matter with his business partners. Later, he left the restaurant. He pressed the owner on whether the matter was resolved. He said, but the man only offered that he had verified the obvious via Google. The photo is of coal miners. Indeed, per Google, the image is part of the Volta press library, which compromises photos taken from the picture. A group of coal miners still dirty from the mines discussing the impending coal strike over pints of beer at a local pub. Can you imagine the misery of these people, right? Not only are they working in the abhorrent condition, now there's a strike going on. The photo appeared in 2009 documentary Coal Country. Although Thomas acknowledged that he could see what was in the actual photo, he suggests that the facts were trumped, not just for him, but for everyone, by his feelings, and he felt like he saw an early 20th century blackface film. Well, yeah, but aren't you the problem, Thomas? Like, the facts are clearly saying it's not what you think it is, alright? It is not. And here's another thing. Where is the argument, the private business? My private business can do whatever it wants. You know, when Google decides to censor people, my private business. But when you see this, my feelings, the feelings of the... Like, this is so ridiculous. The coal miners disappeared in a film honored for its artistic merit despite being the most racist propaganda film ever. Birth of a Nation surfaces in which actors appeared in blackface, he said. I need to look at it. I genuinely need to look at it to see the racism, to see how bad it is. He wants to work in a blood diamond mine, says Joseph Diaz. Yeah, I mean, I saw some things from Africa, Jesus, like the children working in the most horrible conditions. Like, honestly, like being a miner is not a job that I would want, trusted upon anyone, yet back then it was a job that had to be done. Respect my delusions. Your problem is to take these manufactured people seriously. Yeah, but that's the thing, like these manufactured people usually have connections with the mainstream media and usually have connections with, like, they work in groups. They're like wolves, you know, together. And you piss one, you piss them all. And then you find out them, you know, harassing your business. The mainstream media is going to spin what really happened. That they're going to, like, put a, you know, like, for example, in the Starbucks incident, like, you're the manager, right? And you got two people that don't want to pay for drink, and you're telling them to leave. You're asking them politely, order something or leave. You give them the choice, right? They don't want to leave. You call the cops, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you call the cops because you are black and racism, and the manager gets fired. So this is why it's not always a good idea to fuck with these people. You know, sometimes you have to give in to their demands, depending on the neighborhood you're in, depending on the type of business you have. I'll show you something about Starbucks in a bit, by the way. Very few people seem to agree with Thomas' self-regarding view of the greater good. His op-ed was almost universally mocked on Twitter, where conservative commenters called it incredibly stupid, dumb, and insane. As they should. Some readers were offended on behalf of the coal miners, while others wondered if the article was a parody. By the way, there was this article published by BuzzFeed a couple of days ago saying that smiling is now white supremacy. Apparently it was black propaganda. It had nothing to do with BuzzFeed, like someone made the article up. And there were people upset, blue check marks upset on behalf of BuzzFeed. It's like, oh, why isn't Twitter removing them? And my question is like, instead of being upset on BuzzFeed, why aren't you upset on people like this writing these articles that you can't differentiate sarcasm from real articles anymore? You know, like you got articles saying air conditionings are sexist, you got articles saying that coal miners and blackface are the same. It's like, come on. I love the fact that there's like this white woman, you know, like female privilege. Like, look, everyone is black. You can see how hard they work, and then you get like this impeccably clean woman. Still, the essay was far from anomalous in American culture. On the same day it was published, the New York Times. Like, look at this, the New York Times. See, I told you, I haven't read this article, but you fuck with these people, they have connections to the mainstream media. Or if they don't, the mainstream media is very willing to listen to them, right? This is why I'm telling you, like, this is the face of fear for any respectable businessman. Doesn't matter if you're white or black. It only matters of your political leanings. Like, the New York Times ran an op-ed by Harvard University instructor arguing that Mary Poppins had flirted with blackface when she applied chimney soot to her face. Unfucking believable. Mary Poppins flirted with... I can't. I just, no. This is definitely too much. Too much. Let's look at some super chats. Volta Vespertine, 10 pounds. I'm high as fuck. Listening to you in this state really cheers me up. I need chemicals to get through the Brexit nightmare. Depressing, get on with it, woman. Use this little tip for your furniture fund. See, Volta is what I like to call a kind-hearted, delusional person. He believes in his heart that Brexit will happen. Should I spoil his little dream? Should I, like, would it be fair for me to just demolish his dreams and reality? Probably not. Volta, you will never leave. Like, just get used to the idea that you will not leave. There's just two solutions out of this. Number one, you will leave in name only, and Britain is going to still be like a vassal state to the European Union, which is probably likely. The other option is that you will never leave. Just, you know, they're going to delay it until there's going to be new votes. Maybe the Labour is going to take the helm. And then there's either going to be like them completely accepting to the European Union, or they're just going to say, yeah, we're not leaving. Marcus Aurelius, please play VR chat with me sometimes. We can dress as lobster and hunt lollies. I don't have VR chat. I'm sorry. Right. Let's stop ruining Volta's dreams here. And let's get to the last thing that we got for tonight, which is Starbucks. Needles. So ever since Starbucks said everyone can use the bathroom, apparently people decided that why the fuck not? And Starbucks workers in Seattle claim that dangerous needle pokes and HIV prevention drugs have become a routine part of working at the coffee giant. Several Starbucks workers in Seattle say that they are encountering hypodermic needles on the job nearly every day. And they've had to take antiviral medication to protect themselves from HIV and hepatitis. Can you understand how bad the situation is? They should get like extra pay. I would definitely demand it. Like, if you're in the hospital and you work in the HIV, in the HIV part, then you get like extra pay. 3 employees told the news station that visitors would dispose of the needles in storerooms, often in tampon disposal boxes, and that workers would then come in contact with them while cleaning, and were sometimes accidentally poked. That's okay because infecting someone with HIV is now a misdemeanor in California, as I understand. Maybe they'll make it in Seattle as well. See, no crime, no problem. Kiroseva said that the 3 employees provided hospital pharmacy and insurance receipts showing that they took antiviral medications to protect against HIV and hepatitis after being poked by needles at work. But at least they're not racist. According to the baristas, the problem has gotten worse since Starbucks earlier this year changed its policy to its open door bathrooms. The open door policy doesn't work, huh? Is this what you're saying? That the open door policy might not be such a great idea? Including people who aren't making any purchase. A Starbucks representative confirmed that at least 2 baristas in Seattle area had been poked by hypodermic needles. Borges told Business Insider that employees were trained on how to safely deal with hypodermic needles, and that any employee who feels unsafe performing a task is encouraged to speak to the manager and will not be made to perform the action. So, wow. Isn't this like a symbol of multiculturalism, right? Like you got a business that's running fine, and then it's like someone comes with the idea, you know what? Let's have an open door policy. Everyone can use the bathroom. Everybody can use the bathroom, right? And now the culture in that place starts to change. Now the employees have to take like additional courses and lessons on how to deal with the needles, how to deal with the hypodermic needles, things that didn't exist before. And I personally would not want to go in a Starbucks if this is the case, right? Like in my Starbucks, in my country, I don't find hypodermic needles because this madness doesn't exist here. But I guarantee to you that if I would ever go into a restaurant and find hypodermic needles, that is the last time I will go there. Ever. I don't understand why. There is no way you can force me to go into a place that has hypodermic needles. Alright? No matter how racist you think I am that I don't go there, I will just not. He added that the company was looking at how to best address safety concerns and that workers who speak out about risks would not be punished. The drug abuse crisis in Seattle impacts every company. Yeah, but it seems to impact Starbucks the worst, right? Because we don't see the McDonald's being in the news. We don't see KFC being in the news. No, we see Starbucks being in the news. Chains across the US are grappling with how to deal with the impact. New York University Center for Drug Use and HIV report that almost 60% of managers have come in contact with drugs. Starbucks is in a unique position because unlike many other chains, its bathrooms are not only for paying customers. Borges said that while Starbucks does not force customers who haven't paid to leave the store, the company has some expectations from visitors. Drug use, drinking, and disruptive behaviors are still banned at the stores. We expect our customers to behave in a certain way. Bitch, if they don't pay, they are not your customers. Look how even the language has changed. Look, since the open door policy, they had to change even the definition of words in order to accommodate the new customers. Like, if you don't pay, you go in a place and you don't buy shit, then you're not a customer. You know, I genuinely feel bad to go into a place without buying something. Like, I would never... Like, if I have to use the bathroom, let's say there's an incident, and I have to go and use the potty, like, I will buy something out of respect. I'll buy something for, like, $5, or, you know, like a symbol, so that I at least feel like I'm... Okay. Oof. Zliksan, if the UK people really want Brexit, they will have to rebel. Did you not see what they did to the Yellow Jackets in the UK, or did I miss that? Like, there were a very small group of Yellow Jackets in the UK who went and said, Subri is a Nazi! Subri is a Nazi! PayPal removed the account of the leader of the Yellow Vests. Facebook banned them, and the police arrested him. Okay? I think they're very aware of what's going on in France, and they don't want it there. Volta Vespertine, we fucking well will leave. Parliament voted for legislation that will leave in March. Deal or no deal, it is law. If they change that, there will be huge civil unrest. I've got my vest and flamethrower, and I think PayPal has their ban button, and the police have your number. Man, like, look, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to see that the will of the British people will be enforced. But there was an article in The Guardian who advocated for a second referendum, and the person that advocated, and I'm not even making this up, like it was bewildering to read, but what they advocated for was even if not a single person changed their mind on the referendum, right? Even if not a single person decides against it, a lot of old people have died, and a lot of young people have reached the age of 18, and by this change of demographic, we can finally have Remain. Like, the way they try to tackle the issue is not to address the points of why the people who wanted to leave and try to fix it. No. Instead, they're hoping that the old people who want to leave are going to die, and you're going to have more gullible young people that are going to reach 18, and that will change the voting thing. Like, such progressive thinking, such interesting way of thinking. It is just, wow, absolutely brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? You know, can you imagine this? Just imagine in America, Obama would win the elections, and the Republicans would start delaying the process, and you would eventually get like a Republican saying, well, a lot of young people voted for Obama. A lot of old people, I'm just assuming, right? I know it's not true, but I say a lot of old people voted for Obama, so if we just wait a little bit, more of those old people will die, and more young people will be born, and as such, we can have another vote in like 2 years, and just the morality is like just right. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate the donations. You guys really help me out, and I'll try to get some more interesting guests in the future. I understand that I'm a little bit boring now. I guess I should either get some more interesting subjects to talk about, or find someone else to get some back and forth, some banter going. And yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow on my main channel. Thank you again for watching, and have a great